Electrocast.
This episode is brought to you by Fandango. People say fans are too distracted these days, but the truth is, when a great movie hits the screen, you show up. You stay glued, invested, part of the story. And without fans like you, there'd be no cinema magic, no shared moments. So head to Fandango.com to get tickets, stream, or rent or buy top movies and series. Fandango loves fans.
Protein is now at Starbucks, and it's never tasted so good. You can add protein cold foam to your favorite drink or try one of our new protein lattes or matcha. Try it today at Starbucks.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris, and I'm here with my disloyal full-ass, bitch-made punk of a brother.
Poo butt ass.
I'm sorry, poo butt ass?
Yeah, that's what he says. You get out of my car, go back to the valley, rookie. Poo butt ass. And I was like, that's maybe the most succinct. Remember we did Burns from another movie? I was like, poo butt ass. It contains a redundancy, but is also the shortest insult ever. Like maybe the most effective.
And today we're talking a movie from 2001. Wow, 25th anniversary? The first time I've ever seen it, Training Day.
Wow. And we talked about this in an interview style, which you should check out at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. Iris rigorously defended Denzel Washington. And I learned through the course of that Iris had never seen Training Day, sought to remedy that immediately.
I knew that Denzel Washington won the Academy Award for his leading role in Training Day. I knew that Ethan Hawke was in this movie. Ethan Hawke blew my socks off.
With his performance?
Yeah, how is he not a co-lead in this movie?
Definitely is. He's on the cover image. Think of all the other Denzel Washington movies, The Out of Times and The Man on Fires and stuff. Is Dakota Fanning on the Man on Fire poster?
Never seen it?
I think Denzel Washington poster is like Tom Cruise running. Nobody runs with Tom Cruise except that one lady in The Mummy and Ethan Hawke running with Denzel Washington on Training Day. And by running, I mean doing that authoritative like wolf walk in his leather and jewelry with the badge. And Ethan Hawke looking around being like, man, we're going to get fired. We're going to get piss tested and I'm going to get fired.
We're going to get nailed to the wall. And yet he's also in the car going, cock-a-doodle-doo.
That is not at all what he does. Poster quote.
But if anyone doubts that Ethan Hawke is a movie star, like in that mean tweet, what does it say?
Oh, Ethan Hawke seems like the kind of guy who wasn't supposed to be a movie star, but he just kind of showed up or slipped in or something under the radar. And people were like, oh, okay.
Those people need to see Training Day.
Man, blew your socks off. In every interview, everything that he's ever done that I've ever seen, Ethan Hawke, this was a huge role for him. And it's nothing but service to Denzel. He says he's one of my favorite actors. When I read the script and I knew that if Denzel commits to this, that he's going to win the Oscar. Nothing but complimentary, nothing but wingman and supportive kind of thing. I think he knew, or at least he said so for promotional purposes, that this was Denzel's show. And that he was there to offer the support that he would need to take Alonzo Harris to the next level.
So no, right back at you, Hawk.
Well, he was complimentary for sure. And in particular said he's a good man and that he really likes him a lot, that they had a great time. I heard that the reason I wonder if it's kind of in service of promotion or whatever is Ethan Hawke mentioned that in the audition, he rolled in and Denzel Washington, who had already been cast, who already had the role, improvised the whole audition. So Ethan came in for Jake Hoyt and then was playing off script. And he had no idea what Denzel Washington was saying. And so he was reacting in probably the shell-shocked kind of off his game way that Jake does in the face of Alonzo Harris, who's this commanding presence that he's trying to impress, that he's trying to ingratiate himself with. And Alonzo's just throwing curveball after curveball. And Ethan Hawke said, supposedly, that it wasn't fair, that he stormed out of the audition really upset, considered going back and yelling at them all to go to hell. The guy already had the role, was messing up his audition. Was I sabotaged? And then they came out of the thing and they were like, you're great. He wants you. We're ready to go. You're hired. You're cast. And so it was to put Ethan on Jake's footing. And that was effective, but maybe felt mean at the time, in spite of all that, unfailingly complimentary.
Well, if acting is reacting, then they gave each other a lot to react to. And Ethan Hawke maybe needed to be in that position, although that story could have gone really badly if Ethan Hawke wasn't the right person for the role. But it ended up being a happy story because he was cast and because both of their performances are so phenomenal.
So it lived up to expectations and the hype?
Partially because I was worried. Halfway through, I was worried, like, where is this going? Of course, I understand pretty early on that something's not right with Alonzo, but then he keeps bringing it back to, we're doing the right thing. You just need to have a different mindset. Don't you understand? This is how it works. You got to be within the system. You got to work within the system. And so I thought, okay, so that's what this is about. But then it just goes bonkers. At a certain point in the movie, I think it's around the time when I think everything after when Alonzo meets with the three wise men, this movie's just on rails. Like, it's a runaway train that it's a runaway training day. It's a runaway train that you're just on, that you know that it's going to wreck, but you can't stop watching it.
The three wise men, do you think that you felt like you were firmly in place, that you were belted in and you were along for the ride because of that scene? Did that scene contribute to this feeling? Because that scene was on the chopping block. And director Antoine Fuqua, he really fought for that scene to keep the wise men in. Because the idea is that no matter how reckless and how spontaneous Alonzo is, all his decisions are backed to a higher level. That showing the wise men was instrumental in revealing how deep the corruption goes, and that he wasn't just out there acting the Colonel Kurtz wild man.
The scene itself was revealing, and because they're talking in code for the large part, I feel very sympathetic to the Jake character. I also begin to understand, like, to your point, how deep this runs, because Alonzo gets his permission, so to speak, from the three wise men. The training has ended, and now the full manipulation of Jake is beginning in service of Alonzo's strategy to save himself from the Russians.
Go on, shoo, get yourself a baseball stick or something.
And yet he's sitting at the next table and he's laughing along.
Listening to the peanut butter story. Fully, he's like within earshot.
Yeah, maybe one of the few times in this movie where Ethan Hawke smiles. And he looks kind of goofy when he smiles, or maybe he looks more juvenile, like it's back to like Dead Poet Society days. Whereas when he's just like the chiseled face of consternation and confusion and conflict of conscience, that's when he starts to really look like a man.
But was he believable as a tight safety on a football team, the good player that Roger would remember?
When he and Alonzo throw down, he can definitely hold his own with Denzel, which was really surprising to me because he doesn't seem like a big dude, but he was pretty fairly matched with Alonzo.
I don't know. Alonzo beat his ass and then hit him in the back with a chair.
He's 5'10" and a half. I never thought that Ethan Hawke was that tall.
Huh. But he was 30, 31 when they filmed that fight, and Denzel Washington, 47.
47 and at 6 feet, so a good 2 inches taller than him. Yes, I guess to answer your question, I did believe that he was capable. He takes out those dudes in the alleyway. He takes out the vatos in the kitchen. He goes toe-to-toe with Alonzo on the rooftops and in the street.
Can you say vatos?
Jake throws down. The pro comes late today is vato.
You know, David Ayer is a white dude.
A slur. Yeah, also, Davis Guggenheim, the original filmmaker slated to be director, and the creative responsible for developing and bringing this screenplay to Warner Brothers.
Man,
also,
bummer.
a white dude.
Okay.
Vato is generally not considered a slur in itself, but rather a Spanish slang term for guy, dude, or man.
I wonder, though, there's got to be some level of possession and physicality to be able to throw down and also to get your ass beaten effectively. Like,
Yeah.
I always look at the scene with the homies, with Smiley and with, what's his name? With Tuco. And they tie his hands behind his back and they drag him through the hall. And I'm like, dude, watch out. Watch your face. Watch your mouth. Right? And they throw him into the tub head first. And his like forehead is against the porcelain. And I'm like, he's really tied up. Like, be careful. But in order to convincingly get beaten down, you have to have some physical prowess, right? To not get hurt and stuff.
Yeah, like he can withstand it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and he's in control of his body enough so that even though Denzel could convincingly win fights, Ethan Hawke could lose them and still show like he's putting up a realistic good fight. They're not babying him in those scenes by any means.
No, not at all. And I appreciated that he would cry out when he and Alonzo were fighting, or even when he was getting kicked in the stomach when he was tied up. He wasn't a hero in this movie. He took his lumps, I guess, literally. He would cry out in pain. He was pretty tore up, and yet he was so determined. He got back up time after time.
Yep.
So the purpose of the bathtub was so that they wouldn't like mess up his house. Like they wanted to blow his head off in the tub where they could immediately wash it away. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, that was bulletproof porcelain, shotgun-proof porcelain.
I mean, it would have been a mess any which way, but at least this way it could be more easily cleaned up.
Yep, but you know this is just business, right? Towel on your head. You mess up my floor.
A little bit Deus Ex Machina. That he had the cousin's wallet in his pocket.
Some trippy ass shit, Holmes.
I love that they just acknowledged that. It made it so much more believable that they just acknowledged how trippy it was.
It seems like Jake's life was determined purely by chance and by luck. He wanted to be the cop. He wanted to rid his community of dangerous drugs, but he got stuck with Alonzo. And then he just happened to witness that fleeting glance, that all-knowing, none-caring Alonzo just passed by the alleyway. And he's like, stop the car. And he doesn't stop for like half a block. And he runs back and ends up with that girl's wallet, which ultimately saves his life that Alonzo was putting in jeopardy in the first place.
He enters that house through like a blockade of essays. It's like the most fortified and tenuous situation where I definitely asked, how is he going to get out of this? There's no way that he's going to be able to fight his way out of this. And indeed, he tries, before they hog tie him and throw him in the bathtub. He puts up a good fight, right? He turns over the table. He punches a couple guys out.
He dogs Smiley in the mouth in his own pad.
And maybe I don't know if that's a credit to the screenplay or if it's a weakness of the screenplay. I think it's a credit that they built this impossible situation that there was no way he could have gotten out of, and maybe a little bit of a cheat that this coincidence kind of saved his life. That being said, it's very much aligned with the Jake character who always wants to do the right thing, that a good deed, could have been his saving grace.
I'm now thinking that Training Day is the Top Gun Maverick of these types of movies. I didn't have unending affection, but I've seen this movie a shocking amount of times. But the more I watch it, the more just now, 25 years later, I kind of see the holes. I'm frankly kind of sick of it. Like I just know it so well. I don't need to watch it again. And
really? Did you?
Did I watch it again? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But every scene is available on YouTube. You just have to put them in the right order. Anyway, that's a pretty precarious situation. Denzel legendarily was on set for the Hillside House scene with Denzel and with Ethan and the Vatos, but he was like watching and he commented, "This is the best scene in this movie, and it pisses me off that I'm not in it." You remember Counting Crows, their cover of Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi? Late last night, I heard the screen door slam. swing or the big yellow taxi took my girl away. That's there.
Yeah.
And you know how you can hear the taxi drive away? You can hear Alonzo take off in his car and leave him there.
No way.
And
Whoa.
I agree. It is maybe the most memorable scene because of how deep Jake is in that stronghold. And I still feel it when he's like, there's nothing out there for you. And he lets Jake go to the window and Alonzo's car is gone. It's like, oh no.
What was Alonzo's plan? Was he literally leaving him for dead?
Yeah, he was paying them to do it. This is just business. Jake wasn't going to cave. It comes right after Alonzo shoots Roger, and he was never going to play ball, and Alonzo knew it. The whole thing, the facade has fallen away. Even though Alonzo tries to maintain the facade, he's like, you did it, you made it, put that gun down before you give my girl a heart attack.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Refreshing Wild Cherry Cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Right, he even applauds when he busts through the door.
Yeah.
Why is Eva Mendes naked on the bed?
Why? Because that's her function. This is David Ayer's world. Didn't you see The Tax Collector?
No.
Yeah, you did. We reviewed it.
Oh, with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. The girls serve a function, and that function in this movie, when they're in the presence of powerful, money-counting, gun-toting dudes, is to be naked.
Okay. Also important to establish that relationship. Another impossible situation for Jake. Like, he establishes a rapport with Alonzo's son.
Alonzito.
And that's the only way, which is the only way that he gains access into the apartment. I mean, I guess he could have busted in, but he wouldn't have had the element of surprise, which was probably his only saving grace in a showdown with Alonzo.
And she was complicit. She knew it wasn't just like Poppy brings me stacks of cash and has a shotgun under my bed just in case he needs it. Like, she knew what was happening, right?
Yeah. But like Smiley in his fortress, she was kind of ensconced in her tower where she felt like she was royalty and she was untouchable because of her relationship with Alonzo and his kind of chokehold on the neighborhood.
So when you get the naked hyenas in I don't know if I can say that, like just the naked girls that hang around with the powerful dudes, right? It seems like a common trope thing, but not really. We needed to sympathize with her, and we needed to love the kid enough that Jake would, tells him to hide in the closet, and then when his punk ass doesn't, Jake needs to take care of him and make sure he's okay. Job number 1, preserve life. When he comes through the door...
Yeah, but is Alonzo not? Was he being reckless with his kid? Did he know his kid was out there?
Blindly firing a shotgun into the kitchen and through the bedroom door? I'm going to say yes. But when Jake comes through the door for the first time, she could be like, okay, sit down, and like, hey, babe, bring us some beers or something. And maybe she would do that. But she's like, this is your home. This is all real El Salvadorian food. And she is so nice to him. And that hospitality for a rando when it seems like none of Alonzo's friends or his team is nice or safe or appropriate for her son. Like, he brings the new dude in and she's super kind to him. And that always stuck out to me. What I was saying before is the Top Gun Maverick of this type of movie, because all I see are kind of the conveniences of, he's got Letty's wallet in his pocket. Oh, that's super convenient. And in order for Jake not to have to kill Alonzo on the street, despite the bullet in his ass, he doesn't have to kill him. But it's also an untenable situation for Bones and everybody else in the projects, because what are they going to do? They can't kill Alonzo. And he is going to burn this mother effer down and come back like King Kong. unless the Russians get him.
And did they know that? Was that in their back pocket, that the Russians were going to take him out?
I don't think it was. When they walk away, it's like, ooh, that's dangerous because he's going to come in like gangbusters, right? And mess everybody up. And the fact that he is taken out by the Russians is one thing, but the fact that Alonzo drives away to be conveniently ambushed by the Russians so that Jake doesn't have to kill him and Bones doesn't have to kill him is convenient. Like, why would they let Alonzo drive away?
It was important that Bones not take out Alonzo because it was important to show that there was honor.
Yeah, they're not like you.
Exactly. I think we needed to see that Alonzo was the infection.
Yeah, you know who is just like Alonzo? Alonzo. Like I said, untenable situation. There was no way that Bones and that crew would have gotten out of that situation unscathed if Alonzo had lived, which they let him do, basically by driving away. It was their luck that the Russians caught up with him before he came back and exacted his revenge.
I guess we're saying the same thing. It was both necessary character-wise and convenient story-wise.
And as such, now we have to divest from that path a little bit because you know what this is, Iris? You know what this is, huh? This is training day is what this is, Officer Iris. And we're going to conduct the rest of this discussion interview style because that's what has to go down. Like you have to be an interviewee if you want to get through this discussion. That's what you want to be, right? As an interviewee, that's what you want to be? You want to go back to the valley? Well, you live in the valley.
I will do anything you say.
My N-word. So why is Alonzo scary to you? Some people have called him one of the greatest villains in movie history, but he can't be up there with, you know, Hannibal Lecter and Chucky and Ghostface and crap like that. Why is Alonzo so terrifying?
Well, he's manipulative, for sure. And he goes from a corrupt cop to a ultimately self-serving gangster who will utilize and discard anything or anybody he needs to for self-preservation. He's selfish. And I think that's what makes him evil, and that's what makes him scary.
He was never not going to blast Roger.
No, of course not. And it didn't matter if they were really friends or not. He was an expendable piece in his chess game, like everybody else was. Anybody on his team.
The shit's chess and checkers?
Jake, his kid, his family, expendable.
Alonzo, it doesn't matter. He knows when he's in a position of power and will flex that power, you know, even to the people who can't defend themselves.
Right. And isn't that his downfall, that he is so corrupt with his power and wanting to maintain that power?
Yeah. I got them all under my thumb. They know if they step out of line, I'm taxing that ass.
Right.
He believes he has everyone under control. And nobody likes him, and nobody will stand up for him, not even when he offers to make them rich.
Right.
If someone shoots Jake in the head.
Right, which is his weakness that I don't think even Jake realizes he has to exploit until that moment when he's got him down on the ground in the jungle. Only we, the audience, get to witness that moment with Bones where he's like, man, I hate that dude. You know, because he's obsequious and he says, you know, thanks what you did for my nephew or whatever. And then the next moment, he's just like, I hate that dude.
Yeah, and Jake doesn't even get it, which means when Jake rolls up looking for Alonzo later, he's rolling in there at night by himself, a white boy, and walks directly up to the crew and says, I'm here for Alonzo. I think he has his gun in his hand. He doesn't know that they're going to step out of the way.
Yeah, but he immediately earns their respect so that when he comes out and he and Alonzo kind of basically show down on the street, you know, they understand that really this white boy, as you put it, has more balls than they do to stand up to Alonzo.
Oh, man. Okay, ready for your next question?
Yeah.
When was your nope moment?
In Training Day?
Yep. You're the Jake Hoyt character, goes through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did question, would I have smoked the PCP?
Well, you didn't know it was PCP. He said it was garbage brick pack Mexican.
Weed. Even so, would I have done drugs? And I think maybe I might have. There was twisted logic when Alonzo said, you know, if you're undercover, like, what, are you going to say no?
And he said a good narcotics officer should have drugs in his system.
It's bonkers.
Do you know how many top shelf and house liquors I recommended when I worked at the Cheesecake Factory, not knowing what any of them tasted like?
Why not? Because it didn't matter?
I can't tell the difference. People were like, "Oh, what's your house vodka?" And I was like, "Gilby's." It's nice. It's smooth, but it's got, a bite
That's
where
hilarious.
you need it. And it doesn't matter. Doesn't
it's
matter.
called acting.
Exactly.
I have definitely stood up for myself in hostile situations, but I think I also would have been looking for the easier out. Maybe when he kicked me out. I think my nope moment would have been my out moment, which would have been like when he kicked him out of the car on the freeway, like just get out now, done now kind of a thing. It might have been then, which had to have been a bluff. I mean, Jake was such a key part of his strategy. I don't know that Alonzo would have actually let him walk away.
Yeah. In watching this, I've never watched this film critically. Now, when he goes to his informant, the guy he lets peddle a little bit of dope, gets some money for the family, that pipe and that crap weed that he puts on Jake to say, you got to demonstrate to me that you're ready for this, that you are going to take the hits that are needed to be on the detective track. That's where he got what he knew was PCP laced dope. He'd been planning it all week. That's how firmly his plan was in place. And I didn't really realize that until this point. So it's probable that he was planning for any contingency, any reaction that Jake or you might have had and wouldn't have let you go so easily. Like, where was he going to go? When he kicked him out of the car, didn't he kick him out on the freeway? Where's Jake going to go? Is he going to go catch a ride with the police officer changing the tire?
Yeah.
Okay. Why would Alonzo, who knows that Jake has a heart and is a good kid, why would he allow him into the inner sanctum and compromise himself?
Because he underestimates Jake's goodness. All he sees in Jake is himself.
Every single person dismisses Jake outright. Like, choir boy, he's a, rookie and all that stuff. He's not fit for this. He's never going to play your game the way you need it to be played. It seems like Alonzo should have seen that. And I wonder if allowing Jake in to see himself in Jake, and as Roger said, you were just like him. He's like, what? Was that effective in humanizing Alonzo? And is that what we ever needed or wanted?
We wanted Alonzo to be humanized, to be sympathetic.
There was something to be said for how severely he played Jake, but also he tried to appeal to him. It's not like we do this every day, and you can make it a long way. You just have to understand this is how it works, which I have no doubt Alonzo believed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes him so scary, is that he believes his own BS. It's the Miranda Priestley. It's the narcissism in him that makes him believe that he can't fathom that someone wouldn't want to be him.
Man, that's a tough comparison. Kelly Ray wouldn't watch this one? Yes, I've seen Training Day. It's about Denzel Washington and all the horrible things that he does to people and the horrible things that people do. She wouldn't even watch it. So Who has seen both The Devil Wears Prada and Training Day? Not sure, but Iris brought it. So you know how we're not doing ratings anymore?
Yeah.
So we're doing a new segment where Iris is allowed to gush or rant for approximately the last 30 seconds of your overall impression of the first and probably only time you're going to watch Training Day go.
Would I not watch Training Day again? I don't know that that's a given. It's like a Sicario level epic thriller action film that surprised me, and that I also came to after the hype, which is all the more telling that it can still surprise and delight and knock my socks off. After our interview style about Denzel Washington and some of the supplemental material that you had sent me afterward, and also the Davis Guggenheim Denzel Washington origin story for Training Day, it all caused me to scrutinize Denzel Washington's performance. It's an incredible performance, but it does feel a little bit like Alonzo-esque. But Ethan Hawke really surprised me, just blew me away in this, this 25-year-old film that is basically, what's the opposite of a love letter to L.A.?
A grim acknowledgement?
Obviously a heightened one, but a grim acknowledgement of the place that informed so much of how I grew up, in some ways was where I grew up. I mean, I lived, 10 minutes away from Echo Park. It's very much an LA story as much as it is this stressful and grim story where ultimately good triumphs. But what future does Jake have? He goes home, but to fight another day and for the rest of his life?
Well, and he has $1 million seizure exposing corruption for the Rampart-esque scandal that was Alonzo and his crew. Maybe he's going to nail all Alonzo's crew to the wall.
I mean, he's certainly going to try, right? And I don't know what other choice he has at this point. He's taken his stance. He's chosen his side. But the training day was the training for the uphill battle that he will fight for the rest of his life, which just gives you interesting food for thought. Training Day is complex, and I think it will give me food for thought for time in memoriam.
That's our discussion. 2001's Training Day, Oscar-nominated and winning film, which I saw for the first time and I think adequately discussed, of course, under my training as the head or whatever movies officer, trainer, or whatever. But that's how we roll here. A whole bunch of other discussions, over 400 at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. You can reach us at 818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off site-wide, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions we feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast. Electricast.